Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty fascinating, Buddhist philosophy. But don't worry, we're not going to get all mystical and out there. We're going to be focusing on how these ancient ideas can help us live better lives, like literally today.
Yeah, it's really all about practical application. Sometimes we can get so caught up in the hustle of daily life that we kind of forget to take a step back and examine why we do the things we do. And Buddhism offers a really insightful framework for that kind of self-reflection.
I love that. And our source material for this is amazing. It's a collection of writings that break down core Buddhist principles in a way that's surprisingly relevant to like our modern lives.
Yeah, it's true. So why don't we start with one of the most fundamental ideas. In Buddhism, this concept of refuge.
Okay, refuge. I'm intrigued. It sounds like a safe haven or something. What does it actually mean, like, in the Buddhist context?
Well, imagine you're navigating a vast, sometimes stormy ocean, and taking refuge is like finding a sturdy ship and a skilled captain to guide you through those rough waters. So in Buddhism, that ship and captain is the triple gem: the Buddha, the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha, the community of practitioners.
So it's about finding a source of support and guidance, like, as we go through all the ups and downs of life. I can definitely relate to that.
Exactly, yeah. And our sources explain that there's actually two types of refuge: worldly and supramundane. Worldly refuge is like the starting point. It involves actively aligning yourself with the path to liberation from suffering.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, passively believing in something. It actually requires, like, action.
Absolutely. Worldly refuge involves 4 elements, and each one of them invites us to take, specific actions. So, for example, one element is going for refuge. And this means making a genuine commitment to following the Buddhist path. You could try this by setting aside even a few minutes each day to reflect on the teachings or engage in a, simple meditation practice.
It's almost like setting an intention to live your life in a more, like, mindful and compassionate way.
Precisely. Another element is accepting the consequences of not taking refuge. And, this doesn't mean dwelling on fear or guilt or anything like that, but it encourages us to honestly reflect on how our actions create our experiences. So if we're not aligned with our values, what are the consequences of that?
That's such a powerful question. It really challenges us to, like, take responsibility for our choices.
Yeah. The third element is seeing the triple gem as our ultimate guide. It's like choosing to see the Buddha, the teachings, and the community, like, as your mentors, guiding you towards wisdom and liberation. You might try this by reading about the Buddha's life or seeking out a local meditation group for support.
And the fourth element?
And the fourth element is reliance on the triple gem. Oh. This encourages us to actively seek support and guidance from the teachings, the community, and the example of the Buddha. You could try this by listening to talks by Buddhist teachers or studying Buddhist texts to kind of deepen your understanding.
Wow. So worldly refuge is a lot more active than I initially thought. It's about making a conscious effort to align your life with Buddhist principles.
Exactly, yeah. And, as we progress on the path, we may eventually reach supramundane refuge, which is, a much deeper level of realization, but that's a topic for another deep dive.
Okay, noted. But, I mean, even starting with worldly refuge, it sounds like a really powerful way to create a sense of, like, stability and direction in life.
Absolutely. It's about finding a solid foundation to stand on as we navigate, the complexities of human experience.
So how does this idea of refuge connect to another, like, key Buddhist concept, karma? They seem related somehow.
That's a great observation. They're definitely intertwined. The Buddhist understanding of karma is all about personal responsibility. It's recognizing that our actions have consequences. And, this awareness can actually help us make more skillful choices that lead to greater well-being for ourselves and others.
So it's not about some cosmic force punishing us for our mistakes.
No, not at all. It's more like understanding that everything is interconnected. Our actions create ripples that affect the world around us, and those ripples eventually come back to us.
It's like that saying, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
But with, like, a deeper, more nuanced understanding.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that our sources point out that even actions that are forgiven can still have karmic consequences.
That makes you think, right? Like, even if we've made amends for something, the impact of our actions, might still be felt in some way. It emphasizes that, like, our intentions really do matter.
Yeah, it does. And it reminds us to be mindful of the choices we make even in seemingly small moments.
Now, our sources also mentioned something called paritta, these protective chants that can help mitigate the effects of, like, negative karma. It sounds almost like a spiritual safety net.
It's a fascinating concept. These chants are essentially verses from Buddhist scriptures that are recited for protection and blessings.
They work like magic spells or something? I'm a little skeptical, to be honest.
It's not about magic. The source explains that the effectiveness of these chants really depends on the individual's faith and the cultivation of a compassionate mindset. It's not about blindly believing in their power, but about using them as a tool to focus our intentions and cultivate positive energy.
So it's more about, like, the internal shift that happens when we engage in the practice, rather than some, like, external force.
Precisely. Our sources mention 3 specific paritta chants. The Ratana Sutta, which is chanted for protection from illness, the Attiya Sutta for warding off malevolent spirits, and the Khanda Paritta for protection from dangerous animals and snakes.
It's amazing how these ancient practices still resonate with us today, even if we don't literally believe. In, like, malevolent spirits, we all face challenges and fears that can feel, like, overwhelming.
That's so true. And these chants, whether we approach them, literally or metaphorically, can offer a sense of comfort and support as we navigate, those difficult emotions.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these seemingly abstract Buddhist ideas can actually be quite practical and applicable to, like, our everyday lives.
Yes, and we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. For example, have you ever noticed how our minds tend to get, like, stuck in the past, replaying old hurts and regrets?
All the time. It's like my brain is a broken record sometimes.
Well, Buddhism offers some incredibly insightful techniques for addressing this tendency. Techniques that can help us break free from those negative thought patterns and create a more peaceful and joyful present moment experience. Let's dive into that next.
It's fascinating, how Buddhism offers, like, practical solutions to these everyday mental struggles. It's not just about lofty philosophical concepts. It's about understanding the way our minds work and using that understanding to create more, happiness and ease.
Right. And you mentioned how our minds get, like, stuck in the past. I know I'm not the only one who does that. I can get, like, so caught up in replaying old arguments or, like, worrying about things that already happened. Yeah, it's a common human experience, and Buddhism actually has a name for this, manovicharana. It basically means dwelling in the mind.
Manovicharana. I'm going to have to practice saying that one. But I get the concept. It's like our minds become these, like, echo chambers of, past experiences.
Exactly. And our sources use a really powerful analogy to illustrate this. Imagine, like, a cup filled with venomous creatures. Each creature represents a past hurt or resentment or negative thought that we've been, like, holding on to.
Okay, that's a vivid image. I'm already feeling, like, a little uncomfortable just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's meant to be a bit unsettling because that's really what it feels like, to, like, carry around all that emotional baggage. It, weighs us down, clouds our judgment, and prevents us from fully experiencing the present moment.
So how do we get those venomous creatures out of the cup? I'm guessing we would just, smash it and let them run wild.
Well, that's where practices like contemplation and walking meditation come in. Contemplation is about taking time to honestly reflect on our thoughts and emotions, without judgment. It's about bringing those venomous creatures, out into the open, so to speak.
So instead of, like, suppressing those feelings, we actually, like, invite them to surface. That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It might seem that way, but think about it. If you try to keep those creatures, like, locked up in the cup, they're just going to, fester and grow stronger. But if you allow them to come out into the light of awareness, you can start to understand their nature and eventually, let them go.
That makes sense. It's like facing our fears instead of letting them, control us from the shadows.
Yeah. And walking meditation can be incredibly helpful in this process. It's not about, reaching a destination. It's about bringing mindful attention to each step, each breath, and each sensation in the body. It helps to kind of ground us in the present moment and create a sense of space around those, difficult emotions.
So as we walk, we're not trying to, like, push those feelings away. We're actually allowing them to be there alongside, like, the sensations of our feet on the ground, the wind on our skin, the sounds around us.
Exactly. It's about cultivating, a gentle, observing awareness of our inner experience. And as we do that, those venomous creatures start to, like, lose their grip on us. They may still be there, but they no longer have the power to poison our, present moment.
That's such a, liberating idea. It's like we're taking back our power from those negative thought patterns and creating space for something new to emerge.
Yeah. And, this practice of letting go of emotional baggage is deeply connected to the concept of karma that we discussed earlier. By releasing those old hurts and resentments or breaking free from negative karmic cycles, that might be, keeping us stuck in unhelpful patterns of behavior.
Well, I never thought about it that way. It's like we're not just improving our own well-being, but we're contributing to a more positive ripple effect in the world around us.
Precisely, yeah. It's about recognizing that our inner world and the outer world are interconnected. When we create peace within, we contribute to peace in the world.
Okay, I'm really starting to see the practical benefits of Buddhist philosophy. It's not just about, escaping reality. It's about equipping ourselves with the tools to engage with life more skillfully and create greater, happiness and well-being.
And that brings us to another key practice that our sources emphasize. Mindfulness. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, but what does it really mean in the context of Buddhism?
I'm glad you asked, because I've often wondered about that myself. It seems like everyone's talking about mindfulness, but I'm not sure I fully understand, what it is or how to actually practice it.
Yeah, you're right. The word mindfulness has become really popular, but its roots are really in these, ancient Buddhist practices. And it's not just about being calm. It's about cultivating a very specific kind of awareness.
So it's more than just taking a deep breath when you're stressed.
Much more, yeah. In Buddhism, mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise without, getting swept away by them.
Okay, that sounds challenging. Our minds are constantly chattering away. How do we even begin to quiet that noise?
Well, that's where meditation comes in. Our sources outline a really simple 3-step practice that anyone can try. It starts by finding a comfortable seated position and simply noticing the physical sensations, beginning with the point of contact between your body and the ground.
So we're not trying to empty our minds completely. We're actually focusing on something very specific, like the feeling of our sit bones on the cushion.
Yes, it's about anchoring your attention to something tangible, something in the present moment, and then you gradually shift your awareness to other parts of the body, noticing any sensations that arise. Warmth, tingling, pressure, tightness. You just observe them without trying to change them.
It's like we're becoming curious investigators of our own bodies.
I love that analogy. And as you continue to practice, you might notice that your mind starts to wander. That's totally normal when it happens. Just gently guide your attention back to the sensations of the body.
So we're training our minds to become more focused and present. But how does this translate to everyday life? I mean, I can't exactly sit and meditate every time I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
That's a great point. And that's where the real magic of mindfulness happens. As you practice meditation, you start to develop this ability to be more present. Throughout the day, you might find yourself more aware of your breath as you're washing the dishes, or more attuned to the taste of your food as you're eating.
So it's about bringing that same quality of mindful attention to all aspects of our life.
Exactly. And the benefits are profound. When you're more mindful, you're less likely to react impulsively to challenging situations. You can choose how to respond rather than being controlled by your emotion.
That makes sense. It's like we're creating a space between the feeling and the reaction, which gives us more freedom to make conscious choices.
Precisely. And that space is where we find our power to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Remember those venomous creatures we talked about earlier? Mindfulness is like having a shield that protects us from their poison.
Wow, that's a powerful image. So by cultivating mindfulness through meditation and bringing it into our daily lives, we can start to break free from those negative karmic patterns and create a more positive ripple effect in the world.
You got it. It's all interconnected. Our inner transformation ripples outward, impacting our relationships, our work, even the way we interact with the planet.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. It's amazing how these ancient Buddhist teachings are so relevant to our modern lives. I feel like I have a whole new toolbox
for navigating challenges and opportunities that come my way.
Me too. And remember, this is just the beginning of the journey. There's so much more to explore within Buddhist philosophy. Absolutely. So to wrap things up, we'd love to leave you with a question to ponder. which Buddhist principle resonated with you the most during our deep dive? Was it the idea of finding refuge in the triple gem, understanding the power of karma, or perhaps the transformative practice of mindfulness?
Whatever it may be, we encourage you to take a moment to reflect on how you might incorporate that principle into your life starting today. Even small changes can have a ripple effect, leading to greater peace, happiness, and fulfillment.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep diving deep.